Good morning. Today we're going to do a practice to try to reconnect and use this practice to think about how we can connect to our body, our breath, and our mind during our practice. We'll start with some breath work, reminding ourselves that during this time that we're being asked to disconnect and to step back. Just reminding ourselves that in some form or fashion, just trying to find a connection in the ways that we can at this time, and using our yoga practice to support that way to connect. And so, if you would join me today, we're going to use a few of our props. If you don't have these things, you certainly can do these postures without. You'll need a blanket, you'll need two blocks. We're going to come into the first posture after our breath work will be a supported fish. So you want that block horizontal and tall. If that is too rigid for your body, you can, of course, if you have a bolster, you can use a bolster instead right up across your shoulders. And you'll need a tall block to support your head in that posture. So before we come into that first posture, we're going to come to easy seated, and we're just going to find a little bit of moment to connect with our breath. So we're going to use that to just accept where we are coming to our practice today, and just reminding ourselves to stay connected and open our heart, using our practice as that avenue. So close your eyes, connect to your breath. Just become aware of how your breath is flowing through your body, and try not to change anything about that breath. Just come to a place of observation and listening. Relax your shoulders. Let your body settle down to your mat today. Now move your awareness back down into your heart and into that space. And observe how that space feels. Does your heart feel open? Does it feel receptive? Do you feel connected? Allow your breath to create more space in that area if you feel that you need it, to relax you, to connect you. And slowly open your eyes, open and close your hands. As we move through our practice today, just remind yourself that find a place of comfort. Find a place that you can sustain your postures and feel as if you can let your body respond to the practice. Knowing that if you need to modify or if you need to change and just take away and change your posture altogether, that is perfectly fine. So we're going to go ahead and turn facing the top part of our mat. Knees are up to the ceiling. And then very carefully, you're going to roll down. You're going to let that horizontal tall block down closest to your shoulders find its way right across your shoulder blades, and then your head will rest on the tall block. Remember, you may need to make some adjustments initially. We're going to stay here for length of time, so hopefully your body will find a place of comfort and allow your body to open with that posture. Once you feel like you've found a good place for you to sustain this posture, You can go ahead and bring your arms slightly out by your side, palms facing up. Your knees can stay to the ceiling, or you can extend your legs long, or you can bring your feet together and let your legs fall out in butterfly. Just find a place where you feel like you can sustain the posture and allow your body to just connect with your breath. Allow your shoulders to just relax down toward the sides of the mat and open up your chest and open up your heart. Now very slowly bring your knees back to the ceiling, folding them to the ceiling. And then we're going to shift our hips over to that left side and roll up off of our blocks. Now we're going to come into our next posture. It's going to be Cleopatra's Lounge. And so I'm going to take away the tall block and I'm going to bring my folded blanket and drape it over that horizontal and tall block to go right up under this area here when I drape across it. My legs are just staggered and stacked, so we're not paying as much attention to our legs. So when you're ready, just roll comfortably over that stacked block with your blanket for comfort. And that bottom arm is extended, palm facing up. And I'm going to let the side of my head rest on the inside of that bottom shoulder. I'm going to lift up that left arm up nice and long, lengthen with your breath. And as you exhale, let's allow that arm to just drop and drape over the top of your head, the side of your head, and we're coming into Cleopatra's Lounge. Now, if this is too much for you, you can always use that bottom hand and use it as a kickstand and let the side of your head rest in your palm. And you can take that back hand and you can tuck it behind your low back and open up your palm to the wall and roll that shoulder open. So those are modifications if you have some discomfort in your shoulders or discomfort with this long stretch in this Cleopatra's Lounge. So just try to relax. Let your body weight settle across that stacked block and blanket and let it create some pressure points in a comfortable opening manner. If you feel uncomfortable, by all means, just come out of that posture. Slowly bring that top hand back up. Use that to lift yourself up off of that block. And we're going to come into a neutral tabletop and we're going to do a few cat-cows. So in that neutral tabletop, we're going to go ahead and drop our belly toward the center of our mat, lifting our tailbone, coming into that cow tilt. So inhaling, dropping, lifting our tailbone, lifting our gaze, and then follow that natural breath. Exhale, round into that angry cat. Let's just flow through that for just a moment, inhaling and exhaling. All right, come back into that neutral position, and I'm going to turn to the other side of my mat for my Cleopatra's Lounge on that left side. So coming into that um, seated posture right on the side of your mat facing the front, we're going to set that block up still with that padded blanket over the top, and you're going to go ahead and just extend your arm out if that feels good for you. You're going to let that side of everything fall down here. The top part of your body is also going to feel that long stretch. So coming into that Cleopatra's Lounge to your place of comfort. We're going to lift. If that feels good, lift that right hand up. Extend it long. Let it drape over that side of your head. Let that ear drop toward the inside of that shoulder on the bottom arm. Remember, if you need to, you can use that bottom hand as a kickstand, and you can tuck that top right arm behind your low back, palm facing open, if that is a better option for you. And don't be afraid to modify or change where you are in a posture if you start to feel uncomfortable. Just connect with your body, your breath, and your mind in these postures. Let your body weight do the work for you. Let your breath and your body weight just settle across that block. Go ahead and very carefully lift that top hand, bring it down by your side. Use that hand to help make your way back up off your mat. Now we're going to come into a neutral tabletop. I'm going to take my blanket, move it over to the side, and we're going to take our blocks and set them up toward the top of your mat to let our hands land or our arms land for a child's pose. So coming into that neutral tabletop, we're going to go ahead and let our hips sink toward our heels, and we're going to go ahead and begin to allow our forehead and our chest to drift down, and we're going to place our hands on the top of those blocks. Now, if you need to pull those blocks a little closer to your body or to the side of your body, just find that place. You're letting your arms become level with your shoulders, so you're going to feel some of that change in that height in your shoulders. So just go ahead and let your forehead and your chest rest comfortably in this child's pose. And we're going to stay here. Very slowly begin to lift up. Come back up into that neutral tabletop. And you can go ahead and set your blocks off to the side. And in that neutral tabletop, we're going to extend that right leg long. We're going to tuck our toes and then shift your weight into that heel and press toward the back of the room. Just give yourself a little bit of an opportunity to stretch that calf. Let's go ahead and switch sides. So extend that left leg back, tuck your toes, shift your weight into that heel of your left leg. And come back to that neutral tabletop. In our neutral tabletop, the next posture we're going to come into is called melting heart. You can tuck your toes if you would like to, or you can leave your feet flat on the floor. You want your hips and knees stacked over each other, and the only part of our body that's going to drift toward the mat will be our chest and our forehead. So begin to go ahead and walk your fingertips toward the top of your mat and let your forehead and your chest sink into that melting heart. Now your arms can stay extended, or you can drop your forearms down to the mat, whatever feels most comfortable for you. Slowly begin to lift up your forehead, lift up your chest, walk your hands back to that neutral tabletop. Now, let's go ahead and just shift your hips slightly over to the right. Take your gaze up to the corner of the left side of your mat. Do a little bit of a diagonal stretch before we come into this next posture. So then come back to that neutral position and shift your weight over to that left side of your mat. All right, let's come back to that neutral position. We're going to come into a Sphinx pose. So walk your feet and your knees back toward the back of your mat, and then lengthen with your breath into that modified plank. And see if you can just hug your elbows right to your rib cage. As you exhale, lower all the way down onto your belly. Bring your elbows right up under your shoulders, fingers spread wide, and your chest lifted. Gaze is neutral right between your arms. Tuck your toes on the back, untuck everything, and then settle into this posture. You want to feel your belly pressing against the middle of your mat with your breath, and you want to keep your chest lifted, and with each exhale, relax your glutes to the wall in this posture. Now, if you have some discomfort while we stay here, you can always stack your fist and lower down and take a break and then rejoin us in the posture, or stay in a resting posture until your body is ready to join us. So lift and lengthen through your chest. Gaze is neutral. Breath down deep into your belly in this Sphinx pose. All right, very carefully lower it all the way down to the mat. And we're going to let our side of our head rest on the mat. Our arms are coming off the side of our mat into goalpost arms. And then we're going to bring our right knee up toward our right elbow. And your foot is extended, going right out to the wall. Your knee and your hip are in line. And this is our half frog. So you want to let that hip open on that side. Walk that knee out as if you're trying to push it out to the wall, and then relax. right, lift yourself up, walk your hands back to the center, bring that right leg back down to the mat. We're going to counter pose with a wide knee child's pose. So hands behind your shoulders, elbows glued to your rib cage. Take an inhale, lift to that modified plank. Come back into that neutral tabletop. Walk your knees to the width of your mat, big toes together. Sink your hips toward your heels. And then we're going to just stack our fists and rest our forehead with elbows out to the side in this counter pose, in this wide knee child's pose for just a moment. Go ahead and lift up from that wide knee child's pose. Bring your knees back to the center. And we're going to come back into that modified plank. And then very carefully lower back onto your belly. Bring your arms out into that gold pose. And when you're ready, put a bend in that left knee. Bring that knee in line with your hip toward that left elbow for that half frog. And so you're going to just let your head rest on the mat and come into that half frog. Begin to lift up off your mat. Bring your leg back into the center. Let's come into a seal pose. So we're going to go ahead and Just reacclimate yourself to the center of your mat. You're going to extend your arms out to each corner. Turn your fingers out at a diagonal and lift up through your chest. Glue your belly to the middle of the mat for this seal. We won't stay here very long. Just drop your gaze right between your arms and breathe. Feel your breath go down into your belly. Press against the center of your mat and kind of untuck your legs and lift and lengthen. All right, lower back down to the mat. Walk your hands behind your shoulders, elbows glued into your rib cage. When you're ready, take an inhale and come back into that modified plank or up dog. And then come back to your neutral tabletop. Now we're going to go ahead and shift around to a seated posture and come onto our back. So don't ever move too quickly out of postures because our body is relaxed. So we don't want to move very quickly from one posture to the next. Let's do one more thing before we come onto our back. Let's come back into that neutral tabletop. I wanted to do something we traditionally do not do in our yin practice, but today I thought it might be a little bit nice. So let's come into that neutral tabletop, tuck your toes, and we're going to lift up into a downward facing dog. Now, if that is just not a good option for you, just stay in a neutral position and we will meet you again in a seated position. So fingers spread wide, arms wide, and you're shifting your weight into the balls of right up under your fingers. And you're going to tuck your toes. When you're ready, take an inhale and lift your tailbone up to the ceiling. Drop your head between your shoulders, lift and lengthen in that downward facing dog. Relax your shoulders, and we're going to stay here for a few moments. So I want you to just let that breath roll in and out very comfortably here. Put as much bend in your knees as you need to, and let's begin walking that dog. Shift your hips from side to side, and then come back to that neutral downward facing dog. Alright, slowly lift up your gaze, drop your knees down to the mat, untuck your toes. And now let's come to a seated posture and we'll come onto our back. So that helps really help you find your breath and helps you really empty your body, and it also can open up some sinus if you have some sinus issues. Alright, let's roll all the way onto our back. And then bring your knees to your chest and rock from side to side. Just a nice slow massage. Inhaling on one side, exhaling on the other. Alright, let's come back to the center and take an inhale and slowly lift up your feet to the ceiling, your legs extended. And this is called legs up the wall. You can place your hands behind your thighs, or you can let them rest comfortably behind by your side. Just stay here for a moment. Just put a little bit of a micro bend in your knees, not any need to lock out your knees, and just let your body relax. All right, let's go ahead and let that right foot come down to the floor. And we're going to reach for the back of the calf or the back of the thigh with our hands on that left leg. And we're going to take an exhale and we're going to extend that right leg long. And we're going to just lift and lengthen through that left leg and extend with our exhale on that right leg, opening up that hip flexor or that psoas area. Just make sure your shoulders are soft to the mat and you feel like you can just relax. Just breathe in, connect with your breath here, inhaling and exhaling. All right, we're going to take our pointer finger and our ring finger, and I want you to wrap it around the big toe. Now, your other option is take your fingers and wrap around the outside of the arch of your foot. You can let your right arm just rest comfortably by your side. And as you take that exhale, I want you to allow that left leg to drift out toward the wall. You want to keep that right hip grounded. You can also take your palms or your fingertips and wrap around the arch of your foot on the inside if that feels more comfortable. Just keep that right hip grounded down to the mat, shoulder down to the mat on that right, and just let your breath open that leg out to the wall. All right, slowly bring that leg back up to the center. Put a bend in that knee and hug that left knee to your chest. Right leg still extended, breathing through the heel on that right leg. Take an opportunity for some deep inhales and exhales here as you bring your knee toward your chest. All right, we're going to take our left hand, place it on the inside of your left thigh, and I want you to just let the weight of your hand take your bent left knee out toward the floor. Right hip still grounded down to the mat. All right, slowly bring that left knee back to the center and bring that foot down to the floor. You're going to put a bend in that right knee. Bring that knee toward your chest and then exhale, extend your left leg long on your mat. Go ahead and extend that right leg up to the ceiling, reaching behind your thigh or behind your calf. And with each inhale, bring your toes toward your forehead and extend with that exhale out through that left hip, opening up that psoas and hip area on that left side. All right, we're going to go ahead and take that pointer finger, that middle finger, wrap it around your big toe. Or, of course, you can use your fingertips on the inside of your arch. You're going to let that left hand or arm just drop down by your side. And on your exhale, let that right leg drift out toward the wall. Remember, we're going to keep that left hip grounded down to the mat. If you need to change that grip, reaching our fingertips, wrapping around the arch of your foot for a better grip, then find what works and what's comfortable for you. Just soften that shoulder with that reach. All right, slowly bring that right leg back to the center. Put a bend in that knee, and then we're going to hug that knee to your chest. Inhaling, bring that knee to your chest. Exhale, send your breath out through the left heel, opening up that hip flexor. All right, bring your right palm into the inside of your right thigh, and then exhale and let that knee drop out to the side of your mat. Now you can place your left hand on the top of your psoas or your hip flexor just as to give you a sensation of weight to keep that left hip grounded, or that left hip area grounded to your mat. All right, bring that knee back to the center, and then bring your left knee back. Hug both knees to your chest, and then cross at your ankles. Let your heels come toward your hips, And if you can, reach for the tops of your feet and bring your heels toward your hips. Let your shoulders relax and just add a little bit of a rock from side to side. And then come back to the center and then just relax your shoulders and stay there for just a few moments. All right, let's slowly bring our knees uncross our ankles. And we're gonna stack our knees, feet are in table. Bring your arms out by your side and then exhale, drop both stacked knees over to that left. And you wanna keep that right shoulder open, chest open to the ceiling or to the sky. And you're gonna keep that right arm grounded and opening up our chest. Take your gaze to the opposite right arm. Knees are to your left. Bring your gaze back to the center. Slowly bring your knees back up to the ceiling, keeping your legs in table. We're going to go ahead and take a deep inhale, and as you exhale, let your stacked knees fall over to that right side of your mat. And your left arm is going to stay grounded down to the mat, and you're going to take your gaze across to that left hand, knees going out to the right, coming into that spinal rotation, that spinal twist. Slowly bring your knees back up to the center. Shift your hips back to the center. And then we're going to go ahead and come into our final corpse pose or our resting pose. So extend your legs long, let your feet fall open, rest, relax everything. Bring your arms out by your side, palms facing up, and just close your eyes and try to use this as your last opportunity for your practice to connect with your mind, your body, and your breath. And just reconnect. Use this time to think about using your practice to connect, and then taking it from your mat during this time we're asked to disconnect from socializing and being around people, but then finding ways to reconnect in a responsible manner using this as your practice. So just resting in your easy corpse pose in your resting pose. I'll find some relaxing music. This is used to seal our practice. This is an opportunity to come to a place where we can just allow our breath, our body, and our mind to come back to a good place. Bring your awareness back to the room. Wiggle your fingers and your toes. Bring your knees up to your chest. Roll to your side. Rest there for just a moment. Check in with yourself from front to back, head to toe. Think about reconnecting with your breath, your body, your mind, using this as your practice to start your day. Slowly make your way back up to your mat in a seated posture. And we're going to go ahead and come into a seated dragonfly. So wide straddle, legs comfortably, sit very comfortably just for a moment. Let your hands drop right between your feet. And when you're ready, take an inhale. And as you exhale, begin to walk your fingertips toward the center. Follow your gaze with your fingertips just until you feel that moment of sensation in the posture. Just relax your shoulders. Drop your gaze right between your arms. Deep inhale and exhale. Now let's slowly walk our hands over to that left leg. Drop your gaze to your knee. Take a deep inhale and exhale. Walk your hands over to that right leg. Drop your gaze to your knee. Inhale and exhale. Back to the center. Take a deep inhale. And as you take that exhale, begin to walk your hands back to the center. Now you can bring your legs together in easy seated. And the quote I have today is from Zelda Fitzgerald. Let's turn the music down. So the quote says, "Nobody has ever measured, not even poets, how much the heart can hold." So remember, open your heart, open your mind, open your breath, and reconnect with yourself and with others. So let's take an inhale, reach up, palms together, exhale, hands to heart. The light in you guides the light in me, and we close our practice with Namaste. Thank you for joining me. Look for a new video following next Monday. Have a great day.